In an age where emotion rules reason, intelligent men are not celebrated. They are misunderstood, avoided, even feared. Why does a man's clarity become a woman's discomfort? Tonight, we unveil the psychological and Machiavellian truth behind why intelligent men scare most women. In every age, there are men who see, not merely with their eyes, but with their understanding. They walk among us quietly, observing the theater of life while others perform upon its stage. They are not seduced by appearances nor fooled by words. They listen to what is not said. They notice what others choose to hide. Their gift, or their curse, is clarity. The intelligent man carries within him a form of power that needs no display. He doesn't demand attention. He earns it by perception. He sees beneath the mask that most wear. And in that vision lies his strength and his solitude. For when a man begins to see too much, he stops belonging to the crowd. And when he stops belonging, the crowd begins to fear him. Women, perhaps more than anyone, sense this power instinctively. They feel it the moment such a man looks at them, that quiet, unsettling awareness that he sees through the performance. He notices the small tremor when she lies, the slight delay before she answers, the flicker of emotion behind her calm. He recognizes the difference between affection and strategy, between care and control. And in that moment, she realizes something dangerous she cannot hide from him. That realization changes everything. Because power, my friends, is not merely the ability to act. It is the ability to see. Once you can see the truth of people, you control the game they think they're playing. The intelligent man may not even desire control, yet his very awareness grants it to him. And that, precisely, is why he becomes a threat. Most people live by illusion. They create versions of themselves that others can love, worship, or obey. They live through the eyes of others, feeding off validation, constructing comfort from approval. But the intelligent man, he does not participate in this economy of illusion. He does not trade falsehood for affection. He values authenticity more than acceptance. And that refusal to play along with the collective dream unsettles those who depend on it. To the average person, being seen truly is not intimacy. It is exposure. It strips away their carefully built identity, leaving them vulnerable. And when a woman who thrives on subtle manipulation or emotional persuasion meets a man who cannot be deceived, she experiences something profound: the loss of power. She cannot charm him into blindness. She cannot confuse him with emotion. Her usual weapons, beauty, attention, silence, lose their edge in his presence. And the very man she sought to impress becomes the one she fears most. It is not that she hates intelligence. No, in truth, she is drawn to it, because it promises protection, depth, and stability. But she fears what comes with the inability to control the one she admires. For a man who sees clearly cannot be ruled by emotion, and that makes him unpredictable. To most women, predictability equals safety. But the intelligent man's strength lies in his independence, his refusal to submit to any script but his own. He cannot be handled, tamed, or softened into compliance. He respects truth more than harmony, logic more than comfort, and principle more than popularity. Such a man's perception cuts through false affection like a blade through silk. He senses when admiration is a disguise for self-interest. He detects when words of love are merely strategies of influence. And though he may never confront these illusions directly, his silence speaks louder than any accusation. That silence terrifies, because it reveals he knows more than he says. Imagine being in the presence of someone who always sees the motive behind your gesture, the intention behind your compliment, the fear behind your anger. You could not manipulate such a man without him noticing. You could not charm him into obedience. You could not lie to him without feeling small. That is what perception does. It shifts the balance of power without a word spoken. The intelligent man doesn't seek to dominate. He simply cannot be dominated. And that, to those who seek emotional control, is the greatest threat of all. They cannot play their games on him because he does not need to play. He has mastered something more valuable than charm: discernment. He knows what people are really made of. And when a woman senses that he has seen through her carefully built world, she feels exposed. Not because he judges her, but because he understands her. To be understood completely is a rare gift, but also an unbearable one, because the moment someone truly understands you, they hold a kind of power over your essence. The intelligent man doesn't even need to use this power. His awareness alone changes the dynamic. His perception becomes dominance. His insight becomes intimidation, and his calm observation, that quiet, knowing silence, becomes the mirror in which others see themselves too clearly. In that reflection, most people flinch. They prefer the comfort of mystery to the discomfort of being known. They crave admiration more than truth. And that is why the intelligent man, though he desires only understanding, becomes an object of unease. He is not feared for what he does, but for what he perceives. He holds no sword, yet his mind is sharper than any blade. He wears no armor, yet no deceit can pierce him. And as every manipulator eventually learns, the man who cannot be fooled is the one who cannot be controlled. In the theater of human relations, emotion is the greatest weapon. It sways decisions, blinds judgment, and manipulates will. It makes the wise act foolishly and the strong kneel before affection. But there exists a rare kind of man, the intelligent man, who has learned to master his emotions rather than be mastered by them. His calmness is unsettling because it cannot be provoked. His silence heavy because it cannot be penetrated. To those who seek power through emotional influence, this man is a riddle that cannot be solved, and therefore, he must be feared. Most people confuse stillness with indifference. When they meet a man who does not respond with eagerness, who does not flinch at beauty or bend to charm, they assume he feels nothing. But detachment is not the absence of feeling. It is the presence of control. The intelligent man does not lack emotion. He simply refuses to let emotion dictate his reason. He is not cold, he is composed. And in a world where attention is currency, a man who does not spend his easily becomes untouchable. This calmness threatens influence, especially in relationships where emotion is used as leverage, where validation and reaction serve as tools of control. A woman may test a man to measure her power over him, to see if she can stir his heart, provoke his jealousy, awaken his vulnerability. When he does not react as expected, when he remains silent instead of wounded, composed instead of desperate, she begins to feel powerless. Her usual methods lose their effect. She cannot pull him like a puppet by strings of affection or anger. And so, her fascination turns to unease. The intelligent man's refusal to react breaks the cycle of manipulation that most people rely on. He does not mirror emotions blindly, he studies them. He watches without being captured by the moment. His mind stays one step behind the feeling and one step ahead of the game. When someone insults him, he listens to intent rather than words. When someone praises him, he hears motive more than music. When someone tries to seduce him, he recognizes whether it is love or strategy disguised as affection. His detachment is not cruelty, it is clarity. And clarity destroys influence built on illusion. A woman who seeks emotional control finds no entrance into such a man's mind. She cannot use her charm to distract him, her beauty to disarm him, or her emotions to guilt him. He does not mistake attention for affection, nor passion for loyalty. When she cries, he does not panic. When she flirts, he does not chase. When she withdraws, he does not beg. His stability disarms her because it removes the unpredictability she depends on to maintain power. She realizes that her emotions no longer govern the dynamic. His composure does. To the emotional mind, such control feels inhuman because we live in a world that romanticizes reaction, where people believe that love must be dramatic, that anger proves care, that jealousy equals passion. Yet the intelligent man dismantles this illusion. His love is quiet, not performative. His anger is deliberate, not explosive. His attention is earned, not purchased. He gives meaning not through words, but through restraint. And that restraint, that self-discipline, terrifies those who rely on chaos to feel important. Most women are accustomed to influence, not because they are manipulative by nature, but because the emotional realm has always been their battleground. They understand tone, timing, and vulnerability better than any strategist understands war. They can sense weakness faster than a general detects retreat. But when they meet a man who cannot be pulled by emotion, their strategy collapses. They lose the one thing every manipulator needs, response. Without it, the power dynamic dissolves. What remains is equality, and equality is not always what people desire when they seek control. This is why the intelligent man is often labeled as cold, distant, or unfeeling. Those labels are not descriptions, they are weapons of the emotionally dependent. They are attempts to shame him back into reaction. But he does not bend. His indifference to emotional manipulation makes him immune to most social games. He cannot be blackmailed by affection, guilted into compliance, or shamed into weakness. His mind remains sovereign, unbothered by storms around him. Yet, this detachment does not mean he cannot love. In fact, when he does love, it is purer, because it is chosen, not coerced. It is not born from impulse, but from recognition. He does not fall into love, he walks into it with full awareness. That very awareness, however, makes his love more valuable and more intimidating. For those used to bending hearts with charm, his unbending nature feels like rejection. But it is not rejection, it is discipline. To the intelligent man, emotion is a tool, not a master. He knows that to govern others, one must first govern oneself. And in the art of power, Self-control is the highest form of dominance. He does not silence his emotions, he instructs them. He does not suppress feeling, he channels it toward purpose. This makes him unpredictable. For while others are puppets of impulse, he chooses when to move. A woman observing such composure may first feel admiration, then curiosity, and finally discomfort. She realizes that he cannot be drawn into emotional warfare. He will not compete, plead, or explain. His peace cannot be stolen by chaos. His focus cannot be scattered by desire. In this stillness, she feels her own emotions reflected back to her. Magnified, uncontrolled, vulnerable. She realizes he is not detached from her. He is detached from control. And that makes him untouchable. The truth is, emotional detachment in an intelligent man is not an absence of heart. It is an assertion of sovereignty. It is the declaration that no one will dictate the rhythm of his peace. And that independence, that quiet refusal to be governed by sentiment, is what terrifies those who rely on emotional power the most. There is a loneliness that follows the man who thinks too deeply. It is not the loneliness of isolation, but of difference. The intelligent man does not live on the same surface as others. He walks through conversations that barely touch the ground, while his mind roams through the architecture beneath them. Motives, fears, patterns, and truths invisible to most. And when a man sees that much, it becomes difficult for him to rest in simplicity. He cannot return to the comfort of ignorance once he has tasted understanding. Depth, you see, is both a blessing and a curse. It grants insight, but it steals ease. The intelligent man questions everything: love, loyalty, purpose, even happiness itself. Where others find security in certainty, he finds danger in complacency. He searches for meaning beneath emotion, for reason beneath desire. And this endless questioning, though noble, separates him from the many who do not wish to look so far. The crowd loves the man who entertains them. They distrust the one who exposes their illusions. When such a man loves, his love is not casual. It is analytical, observant, almost spiritual. He does not love because he is lonely. He loves because he recognizes something rare, something worthy of his depth. Yet, this depth that makes his affection so profound is often the same thing that destroys it. For most people do not wish to be examined. They wish to be adored. They do not want to be understood too well. Understanding strips away mystery, and mystery is what allows comfort to survive. A woman who encounters such a man feels both fascinated and unsettled. She is drawn to the gravity of his presence. The way he listens instead of reacts. The way he studies silence as if it were speech. He asks questions that pierce through her surface, questions that no one else dares to ask. For a while, this intensity feels intoxicating, like standing close to a fire that warms and threatens to consume all at once. But as she begins to realize that he sees too much, that he reads the intentions behind her kindness, the insecurities behind her laughter, the fears behind her strength, she starts to withdraw. Because to be seen at that level feels like losing control. The intelligent man's perception becomes a mirror that shows her truths she may not wish to face. He does not judge, but his understanding alone feels like exposure. And so, even as she is drawn toward him, she also feels the urge to protect herself from the very depth she admired. This is the paradox of depth that attracts and it repels. The intelligent man feels this tension everywhere he goes. He notices how easily people are content with surface-level pleasure, how they avoid silence because silence invites thought. He watches as they confuse business with purpose, attention with love, distraction with peace. And within him grows a quiet fatigue. Not arrogance, but a kind of weariness born from seeing too much. His conversations grow shorter, his circle smaller. He becomes selective with his energy, protective of his solitude, not because he dislikes people, but because shallow waters can no longer hold the weight of his soul. He begins to speak less, not out of pride, but out of realization that most will not understand. When he speaks of truth, others hear complaint. When he speaks of depth, they hear darkness. And when he speaks of love, they hear danger. So he keeps his thoughts like treasures hidden within the vault of his mind, opening them only to those who have earned the right to enter. To many women, such restraint feels distant. They mistake his silence for disinterest, his solitude for arrogance. They do not see that within his stillness lies a storm of reflection, doubt, and meaning. His mind is not empty, it is overflowing. But not everyone can swim in those waters. To love such a man requires courage, not to handle his intensity, but to match it. And very few dare to. The intelligent man's depth changes how he relates to everything, love, success, even suffering. He finds lessons in pain, patterns in betrayal, clarity in chaos. He analyzes his own emotions until they become ideas, and his heartbreak until it becomes philosophy. This makes him unbreakable, but also misunderstood. While others seek distraction from pain, he dissects it. While others escape from truth, he studies it, and that difference builds an invisible wall between him and the world. When a woman tries to reach him, she may feel that he's somewhere far away even while sitting beside her. His eyes might seem to look at her, but beyond her, as if seeing not only who she is, but what she hides, what she could become, what she fears becoming. This is not detachment, it is depth, and for many it feels like standing before an abyss. The more she looks into him, the more she begins to see herself. That reflection can be enlightening, or it can be terrifying. People often say they want depth until they experience it. They say they crave truth until truth demands they shed their illusions. The intelligent man becomes a reminder of how shallow most interactions truly are. How often words are used to avoid meaning and emotions to disguise truth. His presence becomes a quiet test of sincerity. Those who cannot face their own depths flee from his. So, he learns to exist in silence, to let his thoughts speak where his words no longer can. He finds beauty not in constant connection, but in understanding. His world grows smaller, yet richer. His friendships fewer, yet stronger. His relationships rarer, yet more real. For the deeper he goes within himself, the further he drifts from those content with the surface. Depth demands solitude, it demands honesty, it demands courage, and very few have the strength to follow him there. There exists a kind of man that society cannot easily digest. The one who cannot be owned. He is not rebellious for the sake of rebellion, nor proud for the sake of pride. He simply refuses to surrender his reason to anyone's control. His mind is a fortress, impenetrable, unpredictable, and ungoverned by emotion or manipulation. This, above all, is what makes him dangerous. Not his strength, not his dominance, but his independence of thought. For power cannot rule what it cannot persuade. Most people, without realizing it, seek control through emotion. They try to bind others not with chains, but with guilt, affection, and expectation. They say, "If you love me, do this." They say, "If you care, prove it." Each phrase is a subtle leash, tightening around the will of the one who listens. But the intelligent man hears these words and smiles quietly, for he knows the trick. He understands that emotion can be a form of politics, a tool used to extract obedience while disguising it as love. He does not respond to manipulation, because he recognizes its pattern before it completes. He senses the shift in tone, the sudden sweetness before a demand, the silence that carries hidden punishment. Where others would panic or apologize, he remains still. And in that stillness lies his strength. Because once a man learns to remain calm in the presence of emotional storms, he becomes uncontrollable. He is no longer a participant in other people's games. He becomes the observer, the strategist, the one holding the map while others wander blindly through the maze. To women, such a man is a paradox. He is alluring because his composure signals mastery. Yet that same mastery makes him impossible to manipulate. He cannot be moved by flattery, nor threatened by withdrawal. He does not bend under pressure, nor chase after approval. His affection is not a tool but a choice, deliberate and unhurried, and to those who seek power through emotion, his self-possession feels like defiance. Because they cannot make him feel small, nor force him into dependence, they label him distant, cold, even heartless. But those words are not truth, they are frustration disguised as judgment. He understands that love, like power, must be voluntary to be real. Anything that requires manipulation to sustain it is not love, but leverage. So he gives what he chooses to give, not what he is pressured to give. And this decision, this sovereignty of the mind, dismantles every system of control that others try to build around him. To govern a man, one must first enter his thoughts. But the intelligent man guards that entrance carefully. His emotions may be visible, but his motives remain hidden. His silence is not emptiness, it is defense. People who depend on control cannot stand on predictability. They need to know they can move someone with anger, or silence, or affection. When they meet a man who does not react, their power evaporates. He listens, observes, even empathizes. But he does not yield. They raise their voice, and he remains calm. They withdraw attention, and he remains centered. They provoke jealousy, and he responds with indifference. Every attempt to draw him into chaos fails, and with each failure, their need for control becomes more desperate. The intelligent man's mind is like water, calm on the surface but deep, powerful, and impossible to grasp. The harder one tries to hold it, the more it slips away. And because no one can fully claim or predict him, they begin to fear him. For control is comfort, and the uncontrollable mind removes that comfort completely. This kind of man is not rebellious against love. He simply demands that it come without conditions. He seeks connection, but not ownership. He gives respect, but only to those who earn it. And when he walks away, it is never from emotion. It is from manipulation. His choices are surgical, his actions deliberate. To the shallow observer, he appears detached. To the wise, he appears disciplined. He knows that to be free, one must first be misunderstood. He accepts being misjudged because clarity often threatens those who live by illusion. His refusal to submit makes others question their own authority. His independence becomes a silent mirror, reflecting how easily others surrender their will just to be accepted. Even in relationships, his presence shifts the balance of power. For most people, love with fear. Fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. But he does not love from fear, he loves from choice. And the one who loves by choice cannot be controlled, because he is not reacting, he is deciding. That decision alone makes him powerful. He does not rush to explain himself when misunderstood. He knows that explanation is often a trap, a way of drawing him into emotional obligation. Instead, he allows others to form whatever opinions they wish. Their misunderstanding costs him nothing. His peace cannot be bought with approval nor stolen with accusation. And so, his unpredictability becomes both his shield and his sword. The world cannot anticipate him because he moves by principle, not impulse. He does not follow the rhythm of others' emotions, he sets his own pace. And in this self-control lies the essence of his dominance. Quiet, invisible, yet absolute. Such a man is not easy to love, nor easy to lead. His strength invites admiration, but also resentment. People mistake his composure for arrogance, his solitude for superiority. Yet he does not correct them. He lets misunderstanding serve its purpose, to filter the genuine from the manipulative. Those who seek control will leave. Those who seek truth will stay. He knows that the mind, once truly free, cannot return to servitude. He will not pretend ignorance for comfort. He will not dim his awareness for approval. He will not surrender clarity for belonging, because the price of control is always freedom, and the intelligent man would rather be alone in truth than love through illusion. In every generation, the intelligent man walks a path that few can follow. He is not feared because he seeks to dominate, but because he refuses to submit. His mind is a fortress, his perception a blade, and his silence a form of power few can understand. He does not need to prove himself because knowledge is his crown, and restraint is his throne. Women, indeed all who cross his path, sense something different in him, something beyond the ordinary. He cannot be deceived by charm, controlled by affection, or moved by fear. And in a world built on manipulation, this kind of clarity feels like rebellion. His calmness unmasks the chaos in others. His detachment reveals a dependency they try to hide. The truth is, most do not fear the intelligent man for what he does. They fear him for what he sees. His understanding strips away illusion, his honesty exposes pretenders, and his independence removes the leverage of control. To those who live by appearances, such awareness feels dangerous. Because once a man can see through masks, no mask can protect the one who wears it. He stands apart not because he rejects love or connection, but because he refuses to trade his soul for them. His loyalty cannot be bought, his respect cannot be demanded. He gives freely, but only when met with authenticity. And that, in the politics of human relationships, is the ultimate act of power. So, the intelligent man remains both desired and feared, admired for his strength, resented for his independence. He lives in a quiet state of exile, respected by some, misunderstood by many. Yet he remains untouched by the chaos around him, for he knows that truth, once seen, cannot be unseen. In the end, intelligence is not simply the ability to think. It is the courage to remain sovereign in a world that constantly seeks to own your mind. And that, above all, is why the intelligent man stands alone, not as a victim of fear, but as a master of himself.